In the heart of the bustling city, adorned with glass skyscrapers and lively streets, lived a young man named Aaron, who was always teetering on the teeter-totter of time. The metaphor was his own invention, representing the constant struggle to balance work and play, the serious and the joyous. Aaron was a talented software engineer, working for a multinational company. However, in his pursuit of a successful career, his personal life had somehow become an overlooked footnote. The rising sun usually found Aaron already hunched over his computer, sipping his black coffee, his eyes glued to lines of code. Even after his work hours, he often lingered, toiling away at additional projects and tasks. His social life had dwindled to a bare minimum, his hobbies, playing the guitar, hiking, photography, gradually left to gather dust in the attic of his life. The imbalance was apparent. Aaron was living on the extreme end of his teeter-totter, and it was starting to take a toll on him. One afternoon, a ping echoed through Aaron's minimalist apartment. He glanced at his computer screen and saw an email from Noah, an old college friend. He opened it to find an invitation to a reunion camp in the mountains. Their old gang, it seemed, was gathering at their favorite spot from their university days, a hidden gem deep in the verdant woods. An unexpected sense of anticipation mixed with apprehension gripped Aaron. His mind started racing with the thought of pending projects and swiftly approaching deadlines. Code scripts and bug reports flickered in his mind's eye. A colossal wall of work commitments threatened to eclipse the tempting prospect of a reunion with old friends. The scales of Aaron's personal teeter-totter seemed so inclined towards work that even contemplating this diversion felt like an insurmountable task. However, as he scrolled further, he found something that tugged at his heartstrings. There were pictures attached to the email, frozen memories of their youthful escapades. Images of them hiking up the rocky trails, setting up camps, singing around bonfires under the starlit sky, capturing the serene beauty of nature through their amateur lenses, and simply being untethered from the grasp of responsibilities. A tidal wave of nostalgia washed over Aaron. He felt a pull so powerful that it seemed to emanate from a different time altogether. He saw a younger version of himself, radiant with joy, relishing the dual aspects of life with grace. There he was, lost in code on his college laptop, pulling all-nighters before exams, yet also strumming the guitar at their informal jam sessions, or running up the trails with an explorer's glee. He could almost hear the echo of their laughter, feel the thrill of their spontaneous adventures, and taste the sweet balance of work and play that he had once mastered. The images were a stark reminder of what his life used to be, a symphony of diverse experiences, a seamless blend of diligence and recreation. Each photograph was a reproach to his current lifestyle, an accusation of the balance he had let slip through his fingers. The nostalgia was potent, it clung to him, refusing to let go, forcing him to confront his imbalanced existence. With a deep sigh, he found himself at a crossroads. He could either remain locked in his work-oriented routine or he could dare to reclaim his lost balance. He looked around his sterile apartment, his eyes landing on the dusty guitar in the corner. It was high time, he realized, to tune its strings, both metaphorically and literally. With a newfound determination, Aaron decided to challenge the formidable wall of work commitments. He drafted an email to his boss, meticulously wording his request for a leave of absence. Once sent, a strange sense of liberation washed over him. He stood up, stretching his arms and letting out a sigh of relief. The decision had been made, the first step towards balance had been taken. As he started packing, his heart pounded with anticipation, a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. The reunion, it seemed, was not just with his old friends but with a version of himself he had almost forgotten. When Aaron arrived at the campsite, he was greeted by a spectacle that brought an involuntary smile to his face. His old friends were there, some looking older, some barely changed, but the camaraderie was the same. That night, around the campfire, they sang, they shared stories, they relived old memories and made new ones. They laughed like they hadn't in years, and for the first time in a long while, Aaron slept without the weight of unfulfilled responsibilities on his mind. In the following days, they explored trails, swam in the lake, and Aaron rediscovered his love for photography. He captured the orange hue of the setting sun, the glimmering water of the lake, the dancing shadows of the ancient trees, and the sparkling eyes of his friends brimming with happiness. The old guitar he'd brought along with him filled the mountain air with forgotten melodies. The balance he had once known was re-emerging, his side of the teeter-totter not as burdened as before. On the last day of their reunion, Noah pulled Aaron aside. With a smile, he handed him a small notebook. It was a bullet journal, filled with quotes, hand-drawn doodles, and plenty of blank pages. "I have one too," Noah explained. "It helps me keep track of my work, my thoughts, my to-do lists, and my time for fun. It might sound silly, but seeing it all on paper helps me balance things." Arriving back in his city apartment, Aaron felt a distinct shift within himself, a tingling sensation of transformation. It was as though he was seeing his monotonous living space through a new lens. The corners of his apartment, previously suffused with a sterile, one-note workaholic ambience, were now craving for a touch of his neglected hobbies and passions. In response to this newfound realization, Aaron made his way to the attic. The attic was like a time capsule. As he rummaged through the forgotten relics of his past, each object evoked fond memories. His guitar was there, sitting idly, yearning for the touch of its master. He found his old camera, its lens still capable of capturing myriad shades of life. His hiking boots lay at a corner, covered in a thick layer of dust. A sense of urgency gripped Aaron. He needed to breathe life back into these mementos of his past. The transformation of his living room became a symbolic act. His guitar found its place by the window, ready to harmonize with the city's heartbeat. His most cherished photographs, framed and hung, added a dimension of warmth to the apartment. The hiking boots stood by the door, a silent yet compelling call for exploration and adventure. Each change was a step towards a life brimming with more than just work. The bullet journal Noah had gifted him turned out to be an unexpected ally. It was more than a notebook, it was a tangible representation of his personal Teeter-Totter of Time. He started using it to outline his tasks and goals, but also to earmark time for leisure and relaxation. He color-coded his schedules, the vibrant hues reflecting his varied interests, painting a balanced picture. Gradually, his routine became a melody, where work was the rhythm, and play, the tune. Yet, change didn't come easily. Old habits persistently clawed at him, trying to pull him back into the vortex of overwork. There were days when he faltered, days when his code seemed more important than a strum on the guitar or a walk in the park. But every time he stumbled, the bullet journal came to his rescue, reminding him of his resolution. Its pages reflected his journey, his struggle, and his small victories, continually steering him towards balance. Months rolled on. Each passing day saw Aaron making an effort, constantly adjusting and readjusting his balance. It was an evening like any other when he realized the significance of his transformation. As he strummed his guitar, a new song resonating in the apartment, a sense of profound satisfaction washed over him. He was no longer just a successful software engineer, he was a hiker, musician, a photographer, he was a composite of his passions and work. He realized that the joy derived from mastering a new song, or capturing a beautiful moment through his lens, or the laughter shared on outings with friends was as rewarding as nailing a work project. These were not distractions, they were extensions of his existence, parts of a whole that constituted his true self. His teeter-totter was no longer skewed perilously towards work, it was finding its equilibrium. Finally, as his fingers moved seamlessly on the guitar, playing a melody that echoed his triumph, he felt an overwhelming sense of joy. He had not just found balance, he had rediscovered himself. Aaron realized that the highs of work successes were made sweeter by the delightful simplicity of life's other pleasures. His teeter-totter of time was no longer a burden but a vehicle that allowed him to dance between work and play effortlessly. He had indeed become the master of his teeter-totter, the conductor of his symphony, achieving harmony in his once discordant life. Understanding the essence of a balanced life, Aaron realized, was not about forsaking one facet for another, but rather about integrating them. The teeter-totter was not meant to be tipped over to one side, but to glide seamlessly from one end to another, embodying the ebb and flow of life. The peaks and troughs, the seriousness of work, and the delight of play were all parts of a grand design. As Aaron strummed his guitar one evening, his living room bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun, a thought sparked in his mind. His fingers danced on the guitar strings, the notes intertwining with the rhythmic patterns of his code-filled thoughts. Suddenly, the boundary between his work and his hobby seemed permeable. A fascinating idea began to form, hinting at the possibility of a harmonious confluence of his two passions, coding and music. His heart pounded with exhilaration as the idea took shape. What if he could create a product that harnessed the power of code to make music more accessible, more engaging? What if he could build a bridge between his profession and his passion? The seed of a concept was sown in his mind, promising the potential for an exciting new venture that brought his world full circle. His life was no longer a tug of war between extremes but a beautiful blend of what he did for a living and what brought him joy. The realization filled him with contentment. His teeter-totter was no longer a struggle, it was a dance. His Teeter-Totter of Time was in perfect balance, and as he strummed the strings again, he allowed the music and the anticipation of a new project to wash over him. The melody wasn't just in the notes he played but also in the balanced life he had crafted for himself.